Hello, I'm Mark. Today I want to move around, invite you to move with me, and I'm going to answer the question, why do I share movement practices on YouTube when I'm not even a movement teacher? That's a good question. I guess the most simplest answer is because anybody can have a YouTube channel. There's plenty of YouTube channels about movement. Probably thousands and thousands and thousands of them. I'm probably subscribed to 300 or 400 movement channels. I really enjoy learning about the human body and movement. So I like sharing from my own personal experience. I like watching YouTube and watching different movement teachers, regardless of their lineage or their empowerment to teach, because I often learn many things about my own body and about teaching movement and moving. It's just a passion of mine. When you acquire some conditions in life that limit your movement becomes even more important to you. And that's the case I find myself in. I'm disabled by chronic pain and I'm unable to sit in most chairs. I spend a lot of time, many hours of the day, laying down. The more I move, the more I can get myself to move without creating a new injury, really benefits my life. And so I want to share movements, even though I'm not a movement teacher, because I have incurred injuries by following along with YouTube videos. Now, that doesn't mean you following along with my videos is not going to create an injury. It may well if you are just following along and not paying attention to your own body, which is what happened to me. If you're already in pain or stressed out or hypervigilant and you're following along with the video, you might be trying to do the movement, even though it might create an injury, but our mirror neurons allow us to do these movements, and you're like, oh, I'm surprised I could do that movement. And then the next several hours, you're on the couch with ice or the heating pad, and you're, oh man, I shouldn't have done that movement. Or it takes you a couple of months. I once had a shoulder injury. It took me 8 months to recover from that shoulder injury. Just following along with a perfectly fine YouTube, movement set. So take responsibility for yourself. Put your attention in your body and move. So I invite you to do this move. This is the only move I'm going to do today. But I'm answering this question. Why share movements on my channel, Movement Bites? The first reason is because from personal experience, I have incurred many injuries by just trying to learn and follow along. And so I'm trying to create Movement Bites that are short enough because I've created injuries by going too long. And instructions inside the movements that help give you parameters that don't create an injury, and inviting you to take responsibility and reminding, as I need reminding, to put my attention in myself and push to the limits, not to your limits, to keep back 70%. That's a good rule to follow. Don't go past 70%. The second reason I wrote these down is, I've been trained as a teacher. So in a previous life, before I became disabled, I was a pastor, preacher, volunteer chaplain. I spent a lot of time listening and teaching. And over time, I cultivated I guess you could say, the habits of a teacher, to be looking at material, to be considering how it might affect students, how it might affect myself. And then as you work it through your own self, and then I would have, sermons and classes and small groups. And since I've been doing these movement bites and reading my poems on this channel, it has really helped improve my own sense of well-being. because this part of myself that I cultivated being a teacher is being turned on, being useful again. And so for my own personal benefit, this is bringing me life. And I invite you, as you follow along, to look for ways that by following along with my movement bites, which are usually like around 10 minutes, that you can help change your own state. And so by teaching these, it helps change my state. Number 3, neuroplastic pain. As you probably well know by now, if you subscribe to my channel, and if you're not, I invite you to subscribe. That helps the AI submit this video to other people who would benefit from it. Neuroplastic pain. Another way to phrase it is central sensitization. Perhaps there's other names. The bottom line is a dysregulated nervous system. The kind of talking between your brain and your body, the back and forth, the nervous system, the communication, all the neurons, the patterns, they can become hyper-focused on pain. So if you sprain your ankle, you get the proper treatment, you ice it, you take care of it, and a few weeks later it heals up, and it's not drawing attention to itself, and it fades away, and you recover and you get better. This is most of our lives. But then we can get injuries that don't heal, or it's a chronic condition, and our mind will go to this and go, oh yeah, we have this thing. Oh yeah, we have this thing. And in my case, I have a pain right here from a broken vertebrae. And if this is going up to my brain saying, oh yeah, we got a problem down here, and my brain's like, oh, there's danger because I'm experiencing pain, and so sends the rest of my nervous system the danger signal, which turns on hypervigilance, which makes you kind of be on edge. And if this gets cranked up too much, you really can't behave in the world with other human beings very nice to yourself or to others. You can often just shut down, go antisocial, or maybe just saying doing things that embarrass you or later you regret. So neuroplastic pain, that means that pain, there can be a real situation where signals are going to your brain back and forth, but then over time, say over months, weeks, years, this can get reinforced and kind of grow. So the things we focus on, we tend to get better at, practicing. And so our brain and our body are practicing sending these pain, unpleasant messages over and over. And so moving, why do I do movement practices for 10 minutes or less? Is because 10 minutes of movement, if you just stop, pay attention to your breath and move for 10 minutes, it can help reverse, it can help return your nervous system more to a normal setting. Now, I'm not going to promise for you to be healed or everything to get back to normal, but let's just start where you are, where you find yourself today. Participate in this movement right here. Pay attention to your breath. Go for a walk in nature. And repeating this over time, doing, say, one of those movement bites every day. So for 10 minutes a day, day after day after day, give yourself a 49-day challenge. And if you do that, holy cow, celebrate. Then, if you can do yourself a 100-day challenge, go for a walk every day. See if you can, first off, it's hard to build up consecutive days when you're just starting something. So give yourself plenty of grace. But that's the third reason why I teach these movement bites. Because I can, because I've had injuries, and I'd like to feel like I could do I'm not saying I can do a better job. I'm just saying I'm doing a job, and that is, if you have no movement practice and you'd like to have a movement practice, this is a great channel for in-between space. If you have an everyday movement practice, then I would encourage you, if you don't have a teacher, that's a good time to get a teacher. When you have a daily movement practice that's been consistent for 100 days, a teacher can really work with that. But perhaps you can save yourself some money as you're building up a practice and then pick out a teacher. And the last thing I want to share is where even though I teach movement and I'm not officially a teacher, I think I'd like to become a movement teacher. How does one become a movement teacher? Well, in my mind, I would think you would work alongside a teacher who had a lineage that was worth sharing, and you study under this teacher for a period of time, wherever that time is, and at some point, the teacher would release you with actual communication and say, I think you're ready to teach this. I give you permission. I transmit on to you something you can now have permission to transmit to others. I had a teacher for a year where I was an apprentice. It's a 3-year apprenticeship. I did the first year, and that's all I could take. I could not become consistent with these practices in just 1 year. So I need more time, and that's okay. And I haven't taught any of these things that I've been learning, and I don't plan to until I have permission from my teacher or whoever in the future where I'm released to teach. But in the meantime, the best way to become a teacher is to practice teaching. And so I have this muscle, this skill that I developed, even though it was in the spiritual realm, teaching. I've gotten the skill off, I'm dusting it off, and I'm sharing movements, breathing and movement that benefit my life, that help me as I deal with my own challenges. Movement certainly helps, and I invite others, share these movement bites with your friends. Maybe you're recovering from a stroke or an injury, and you need some movements that aren't going to create new injuries. The movement bites that I share are, I believe, good for that. If you're just trying to go from the couch to having a movement practice and the gym just scares you, this is a great way to start. And so by teaching the movements that have benefited me and sharing some Qigong movements that are just on the ground floor, learning the basic movements, where your structural alignment goes, and where your attention goes in your body and your breath. This is a big enough challenge. These are basic level. If you get a Qigong teacher, or you join up with a Tai Chi class, or another movement art, that teacher is going to have their own process. And if you choose that path, then have a lot of fun with it. Grow. And until then, I invite you to watch these movement bites. And also, one of the things that helps me process the challenges in life is writing poetry, and I also have poems on my channel. I invite you to listen to these poems. Often they're very serious topics and also very silly and irreverent topics. Sometimes I'm talking to squirrels or fighting with crows or challenging geese to wrestle. Nature is quite silly, and so am I. Anyway, that's my talk. Why do I teach movement bites even though I'm not a movement teacher? Because movement is important, and one day I'd like to be a movement And in order for that to happen, that process in becoming a Qigong teacher, you have to go through this transformative process where your body transforms to such a degree that these movements then do something beyond what I'm communicating, beyond this base level. But that's something to get in with to learn about, not from me, but from a qualified teacher. Thank you for listening. Blessings on your own movement journey. And I appreciate you listening to these talks. Thank you.